All right, we are moving on to 5-2 notes, triangle congruence. So last class we talked about algebra proofs and how to not only solve an algebra equation, but then also how to identify each process that we have done. So today we're going to talk about how to solve triangles congruent. Learning intention. I will learn how to prove triangles congruent by using congruence postulates. Okay, so the summary for proving triangles congruent is the postulates you are allowed to use are side, side, side. Sorry about that. Side, side, side. Side, angle, side. Angle, side, angle. Angle, angle, side. And HL. And H is the hypotenuse and L is the leg. So for an example, I'm going to draw a really short clip on each side. So side, side, side would be like all three sides are marked, right? Side, angle, side would be like a side is marked, then an angle is marked, and then the other side is marked. This is side, side, side. This is side, angle, side. Angle, side, angle would be if an angle is marked and then a side is marked and then the other angle is marked. So right after the other, that would be angle, side, angle. Angle, angle, side would be if you had an angle marked and then another angle marked and then a side. Angle, angle, side, that's angle, angle, side. And then HL actually still has three things. So for it to be a hypotenuse, it has to be a right triangle. The hypotenuse is always across from the 90-degree angle, so right here. And then a leg, which is either side, needs to be shown that it's congruent, and that is HL. Okay, the two that don't work are AAA. So you cannot have angle, 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 something that looks like this. Angle, angle, angle. That does not work. Or side, side, angle, or if you want to think about it as the bad word. So the bad word doesn't work, such as it would be a side, and then a side, and then an angle. Those two are not congruency statements or postulates that you may use. So if you can remember, AAA and bad word are out, everything else is in. Okay, let's go ahead and look at a specific example. Using the given triangle PQR, answer each of the following. What sides include angle P? Okay, well angle P, if I'm just looking at angle P, that has its own, it's an arc mark because it's an angle. And we're looking at the sides of that angle P. So the sides that make up angle P are PQ and PR. If we marked those separately, which we're going to talk about how we mark things later, but just to kind of get your bearings here, if we marked PQ with one tick mark and PR with two tick marks, then when I went around my triangle, that would be side, angle, side. So this one would be side, angle, side. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and erase that and start over each time. What angle is included between QP and QR? Okay, so I have side QP, and sides get tick marks, so a tick mark. side QR, I've already used one tick mark, so then I'd have two tick marks. And then it's asking the angle in between. Well, which angle is connected by both segments? That would be angle Q. And again, if I went around my triangle, that would be a side, an angle, and a side. So that would still be side, angle, side in that example. Okay? All right, I'm going to erase that one and do the next one. What angles include segment PR? Okay, so if I highlight segment PR, that's a side, so that would be a tick mark. What angles include that? Well, the angles that are touching that segment are angle P, so that gets an arc mark, and angle R. And so since I've already used one arc mark, then I'd have to use two arc marks on angle R. So angle P and angle R. And if I go around my triangle there, I have angle, then a side, then an angle. So angle, side, angle. Okay. Next, part D, it says what side includes between angle R and angle Q? So I have angle R, so an arc mark because it's an angle. Angle Q, which is two arc marks because it's a different angle. And then what's the side that connects those two? Well, RQ or QR connects it, and since that's a side, it gets a tick mark, right? And then if we go around our triangle, we have angle, side, angle. So that one's also angle, side, angle. QR or RQ is my side, and that was angle, side, angle. Okay, so there are specific things that we can mark on a triangle. But first, it's just important to understand like how to mark things and then how to walk around your triangle to figure out what congruency statement it is. Okay, number 2, it says, are the triangles congruent using triangle congruency proofs? So triangle congruency proofs are one of my 5 right here, right? If so, name the postulate that proves them congruent and write a congruency statement. If they are not congruent, write not possible. It's really important that you have 2 different colors of highlighters right now, or 2 different markers, or 2 different color pencils, something that you can just identify like each triangle differently. Okay, this one right here, I have 2 triangles, and it's important that I walk around my triangle and see if I can see if anything is congruent. So you can only say things that are already marked in this example because they're not connected. So I have an angle and I have a side. And then if I go to this one, I have an angle because they have to match, and I have a side. Okay, well that's all great and dandy, but for me to say that something is congruent, it has to have 3 things. Either side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side, or HL with that right angle. Okay? Well, this example only has 2 things. I have 1 angle and I have 1 side marked. So that's not enough information for me to see that they're congruent. So these triangles are not congruent. I know we started with a no, which is a little confusing, but we will get there. Okay, let's go to the second example. So there are 2 triangles, and with your color or your highlighters or whatever you have, I want you to highlight each triangle separately. Okay, so we have this triangle, and then pick a different color, and we have this triangle. Okay, and you always want to ask yourself, did the colors overlap? If they overlapped, that means that they are sharing something that we can mark. So right now, if you notice, this middle line, it is all pink and it is yellow. So it is both. It belongs to both of the triangles. So since it shares a side, I can mark that with, since 1 tick mark was used and 2 tick marks were used, I can mark that with 3 tick marks. All right. We can't mark everything, but that's one of the things I can mark as a shared side. And we'll add more things we can mark as we go. So if I walk around my triangle now, remember tick marks are sides and arc marks are angles. So I have side, no angle right there is marked, side, no angle, and then I have side. Okay, let's look at the pink one. Does it match? I have side, side, and then that one goes to both. So I can say that's a side too. Yes, these are congruent by side, side, side congruency theorem. And then we have to stay in order when we say the congruency statement. So triangle, there's multiple ways to do this, but let's just do this one together. So ABC is congruent to triangle. Okay, I went from A and then I went out to B and then into C. So on the pink one, I need to start at A again. And then I need to go out to D and then back into C. And that whole thing is your answer. Okay, let's go ahead and slide over here to number C. And remember, we're highlighting our triangles 2 different colors, right? So I'm going to highlight this triangle in one color. And then get your other color out and highlight the other triangle in a different color. Was there anything that overlapped that was the same color? If you notice, this side, AC in the middle, got colored with pink and yellow. So that means that side is shared again between both triangles. So it's a side that's shared, which means it gets a tick mark. And since 1 mark was already used, I have to use 2. Okay, I can't mark anything else. So just the shared side was the only thing that had the same color. So when I go around a triangle, I have a side. Nothing else is marked here, you'll notice. And then I have a side. Uh-oh, we have a problem. Only 2 things were marked. And for us to say that triangles are congruent, 3 things have to be marked. So here I don't have enough information, so this is not congruent. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, let's use our highlighter to highlight one triangle and to highlight the other triangle. Okay, the colors met at B, but they didn't overlap at B. So the angles aren't the same there because it wasn't like an overlap. And then CB and CD aren't the same segment, so I can't mark it. But you will notice it already is marked. Like it gave me that side, it gave me this angle on both, and then it also gave me this angle. So our 3 things were already marked. Okay? You always want to start the farthest outside possible when you go around your triangle, and I'm always going to go, I'll probably start up here. So I angle, and then I keep going down, and then like the side's not marked, so I can't say anything there. And then there's another angle, and then walk around, and then I have a tick mark, which is a side. So this triangle has angle, angle, side. Let's check our other triangle. So since I started at E, I have to start at A. So I have angle, walk down, angle C. I have another angle, and then go around, and then there's my side. So it matches. Angle, angle, side. An angle, angle, side is one of the 5 proven congruency postulates that I can use. So this is yes, because of angle, angle, side congruency theorem. And then I have triangle, and then I'm going to go ABC is congruent to triangle. Okay, A has the tick mark, B has nothing, and then C has 2 tick marks, so I need to stay consistent when I go to the pink triangle. So 1 tick mark, start with E, and then go to B, and then finish with that double tick mark, or double arc mark, which is D. And you're done. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to number, or letter E here. Highlight your triangles. Okay, did anything or was anything the same color? Yeah, you're going to notice that BD is yellow and it's pink. So since that's a shared side, I can mark it, since 1 tick mark was used, I can mark it with 2 tick marks. Okay, and that's all we can mark. So remember, shared side is one of the things I can mark. Let's go ahead and walk around our yellow triangle. So we can't start in the middle marking. The middle marking is that angle, right? So let's start on one of these sides. We have a side, and then we have an angle, and then we have a side. You always have to check that it's the same thing on the other side, so we got to check side, angle, and since it shares that side, it still counts for the pink one too. So yes, this is congruent by side angle side congruency theorem. And we have triangle. I'm going to go ABD is congruent to triangle. So I went from A up to B down to D, so I got to stay consistent on the pink triangle. CBD would be consistent. All right, let's go to the next one. Highlight our triangle. Okay, did anything overlap? It did, right? AC overlapped. So I already have 1 tick mark, and I can mark that with 2 tick marks. This one has multiple options of what it could be, right? So let's go ahead and start at the angle here. You can start at multiple places, but right now I think that's the easiest. So I have angle, and I'm just going to kind of tell you why you can't go this way. So if I go this way, I have angle, and then I have a side, and then I have a side. Well, if you notice, that spells the bad word. And so that would not work if I went that direction, right? But what if I go the opposite way? What if I go clockwise? What if I have angle, and then I go this way, angle, and side. And then I can just forget about this one. Once I have the 3 that I need, then I'm good. So angle, angle, side. That works. Let's check it on the other triangle. Angle, angle, side. And it matches. And angle, angle, side is one of my proven congruency postulates. So yes, these 2 are congruent by angle, angle, side congruency theorem. And then I have triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ADC. So remember, you have to be consistent when saying those triangles are congruent. So in all reality on this one, I didn't need that share side to help me out. It almost made it worse because it gave me the bad word, but going the opposite direction worked. Okay, let's go to the back. Now we have G. Perfect. And then our yellow. Okay, we don't have a shared side here, but there is something that we have learned in the past that I can say is congruent. If you notice, angle B makes that X, right? And so X is our vertical angles. So you always mark angles with arc marks, right? So we're going to give each side an arc mark. So that's the second thing that I can mark. Mark a shared side, and then I can mark vertical angles. Okay, if you notice, my triangle has 3 things, and that's all I need to prove triangle congruence. So let's walk around the yellow triangle. I have side, and then I have angle, and then I have side. SAS is 1. Let's check it on the other. Notice I started with the double tick marks, so I want to start with the double tick marks on the pink one. So side, angle, side. So yes, this one matches with side angle side congruency theorem. And then I have triangle. Let's do ABC is congruent to triangle. Okay, this one's tougher. So notice it goes from A to B, and that has 2 tick marks. So I have to start at E. Even though the D is also on top, I need to start at E. So E, B, D. So that one's a little harder to see. Okay, let's look at H. Oops, that didn't copy down very nice today. Oh well, we're just going to roll with that. Okay, did anything highlight the same? You should notice that the HJ highlighted pink and yellow, so that's a shared side, so I can mark it with 2 tick marks. But then when I go around I can't mark anything else because there's no vertical angles. So when I go around my triangle here, I have side and I have side. And 2 things is not enough information to say it's a congruency postulate. So this one is not congruent because I don't have enough information. Okay, let's move on to this one. Now we're starting to get a really kind of diverse, right? Oops, yellow. Okay, did anything overlap? That's the first thing you have to ask yourself. Yeah, QT overlapped with the pink and the yellow. So it has a shared side. Since 1 tick mark was used, I can do double tick marks, right? But we have something new on this one. So I could mark my shared side. There's something new. Okay, if you notice, these guys have that arrow. And if you remember what the arrow means, it means parallel. So if I highlight those with something, a different color, and then I connect the diagonal between the 2, it should make either a forward Z or a backward Z. And from chapter 2, we talked about special angles, like same side interior, same side exterior, corresponding, alternate interior, and alternate exterior. Okay, so if we have parallel lines with a diagonal in between, those are actually alternate interior angles. And what I always tell you guys is the easy way to find your alternate interior angles is it's the corners of the Z. Okay? So even if forward or backward Z, it doesn't matter. So this one's a backward Z if you see it in green. And the corners are right here and right here. So the second thing that we can mark are our alternate interior angles for parallel lines. That's all I can mark because I don't have vertical angles. I marked my shared side and I marked my alternate interior angles for the parallel lines. So I'm going to walk around my pink triangle. I have side, angle, side. And then I'm going to double check that it works for my yellow triangle. Side, angle, side. So yes, this one's congruent by side, angle, side, congruency theorem. And then I can say triangle QSR, or QST, sorry about that, is congruent to triangle QST, would be TRQ. Okay, let's go ahead and slide down to this one. Highlight them, different colors. If you ever need to pause the video because I'm going too fast, please do that. Okay. So now go through your list. We have 3 things on our chart that we can mark. We can mark a shared side, we can mark vertical angles, and we can mark parallel lines. Well, I don't have any arrows, so those arrows are out. I don't have parallel lines. Can't mark anything from that. I don't have a shared side because the pink and the yellow don't overlap on a side anywhere. But I do have vertical angles. And so if you notice, it matches angle C with that X. So since 1 tick mark was already used, I'm going to use 2 tick marks. Or arc marks. I am so sorry. These are arc marks because they are angles. That's all I can mark. So now I'm going to go around my yellow triangle, and I have angle, side, angle. And then I'm going to see if I can match that on the pink triangle, which I can. Angle, side, angle. So this one is a yes. ASA congruency theorem. And then I can say triangle. Let's make it up here. We have, let's go ECD is congruent to triangle. Okay, E had an arc mark and C had double. So ACB. Perfect. Let's move on to this one. Okay. Really quickly, guys, I want to make a note that on this one I definitely can mark the vertical angles, but I don't need them because I already have 3 things in my triangle. So I want to make a note on this one. This one's a tad different. If I go around my triangle here, I'm going to have angle, side, side. That's the bad word. Like, we can't use that because it's not one of our postulate congruency statements. So if I do something a little different, I notice that this is a right triangle. Well, across from the right triangle is the hypotenuse, and then I have a leg. So a lot of times when you see a right triangle, it is going to be HL, okay? Not always, but a lot of times. So let's check it. Here's my right triangle. I have a hypotenuse, and then I have a leg. So this one is yes because of HL congruency theorem. And so I have triangle PQR. Remember, these can be a little different. You just want to match them every time. So I went from the right triangle up and then down to the center. So MNR would work. Okay, and on to our probably hardest one of the day, but we got it. Let's go ahead and highlight our triangles. Okay. I only have one marking that matters, just that side, so I definitely need to add stuff. I don't have a shared side, but do have vertical angles, M, so I need to mark angle M, which is awesome. And then I have those arrows, so that means I do have parallel lines. So let's highlight those parallel lines, and then highlight the transversal that's connecting them, which could be either right now, but I'm going to choose XY. Or sorry, XR. And remember, it's the corners of the Z that are your alternate interior angles. So if you look at the green, there's your Z. The corners are X and R. And I'm going to use 2 arc marks because I already used 1 for my vertical angles. Okay, let's walk around just the pink triangle. This arrow does not matter, so it's just tick marks and arc marks. So I have angle, side, angle. That's one of my congruency statements. That's awesome. Let's check in on the other one. Angle, side, angle. Perfect. So this one is a yes. Angle, side, angle, congruency theorem. And then we have triangle XQM. is congruent to triangle. Okay, I went from X to Q to M, so R, T to M. All right, we are doing great. We are almost finished. So number 3, it's a little different concept. It's kind of going backwards. So it says, what else must you know to prove the triangle is congruent by the postulate shown? So here's these two triangles, and it wants me to prove it by hypotenuse leg. Okay, so if you look at it, we could technically say that this is the hypotenuse and this is the leg. This is the hypotenuse and this is the leg. But if you remember, to have a hypotenuse, what kind of triangle does it have to be? It has to be a right triangle, right? So angle C and angle F have to be 90 degrees, no matter what, for it to be a hypotenuse. So what we would say is that angle C and angle F have to equal 90 degrees. That's what needs to be added for that to be a hypotenuse leg congruency theorem. Okay, let's slide over to B. Side angle side. So on this one, if you look, I already have an angle right there, and I have a side. So how am I going to make it side angle side? Side angle side. I think the way we make it side angle side is that I have to say that this is also congruent. So I need to check that on the other one. I have a side, then I have an angle, and then I need my other side. So what two segments need to be shown that they're also congruent? Well, GL needs to equal NM. Okay. Oh, here we go. Back to my HL again. If you remember, though, there's something that I can mark even though it's not there, because if you highlight them, remember the 3 things we can mark? We can mark vertical angles, a shared side, or parallel lines. So is there anything that I could mark that doesn't need to be said because I have that ability to? Yeah, HK is a shared side, and that's going to be my leg. And so I don't need to say that that's congruent because we can pick up on that as we go. But the hypotenuse, however, that's not marked. And so for this to be HL, it definitely needs to be congruent. Remember, the hypotenuse is always across from the 90, so it needs 2 tick marks. So for these 2 triangles to be HL, GH needs to be the same as or congruent to JH. Okay, we have one more. Angle, side angle. We already have 3 markings on here, but if you look, wow, we got an angle, and then we have a side, and then we have another side, and that's bad word. So it's asking us, well, how could I make it so it would be angle, side angle? Well, I have an angle, I have a side. If I make T congruent, there's another angle, and there's angle, side angle. Let's look at this one. It's rotated a little bit, but I still think I can follow along. So that's angle. Then I have 1 tick mark, that's a side, so then B would need to be my angle. So for this to be angle, side angle, angle T needs to be congruent to angle B. Okay, guys. I think we rocked it today. We're starting to get into those harder concepts, so just stay with us as we go along, and you're doing great. If you have any questions, just come ask us. Have a good day. See ya.